EPL had a reputation for being like a very aggressive physical league, and you can't do it by playing the nice Spanish football or the slow German football and get away with it. He said, yeah, you thought I was coming to your table. No, you were coming to my table. You need to play by my rules. Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Via Palo. So, on this episode, as usual, we'll bring you the top stories in the world of football, break them down, share unique perspectives on them. And it's been quite a thrilling week for Man City fans because the almighty Pep, the person who deceived Premier League coaches that bowed coaches succeed, for one other Manchester side to go and bring a bowed man to come and thank their lowest records and even break them. He's eventually extending his contract as Manchester City, and he's extended it. And so now Pep is going to be there till at least 2026, according to the contract. Now, the most important thing that has come out of this is that there is no break clause in the contract in case Manchester City gets relegated after the charges and the decision on the charges have come in. So we'll get there. But first, Erasmus, what's your reaction to this? And what does it mean for, first of all, Manchester City as a team still retaining Pep Guardiola, who, mind you, before joining Manchester City, had not been at a club for more than 4 seasons, even though he says he's a Catalan. He didn't stay at Barcelona for 4 seasons, stayed at Bayern for 3 seasons. And he's extended his contract that will take him 11 seasons in Manchester City. So what does this mean for Manchester City as a club, and what does it imply for their future moving on?
Okay, so today I'm not going to greet. I'm just going to go straight to the point. After two protests from last
He just did it without greeting.
No, I
You
have two
greeted without
strikes.
saying.
I don't want to get a third strike. No, but I think this news might be greeted differently depending on which side of the divide that you stand with. I think generally, if you're a football fanatic like me and you love the English Premier League, you would welcome this news. You'd want to see the best coach in the world and probably the best coach in all of history continue to stay in the league, because he's going to make the league very, very, very competitive. And especially if you are Man City too, that means that he is going to stay there and going to continue the good work that he's already doing, because dealing with change on the back of long-term success can sometimes be very, 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 very difficult. So you would rather not take those steps. But I think I am not surprised. I think that's the reaction I want to highlight here. I am not surprised. I mentioned on this podcast before that he was once asked about Man City and them winning the Premier League titles and everything 4 times in a row, whether it makes him feel satisfied like that. It makes him run out of motivation because he feels like he has reached the epitome of his success. And he said he doesn't think that's the record to break. Like, there are so many records within the Premier League. For example, Alex Ferguson's 20-year dominance within the Premier League. So he using that example, he highlighting it, right? And also don't forget that he connected back to the mandate he was given, which is to take Man City to the top. He was given a huge project. Like, imagine taking a club like Man City and being given with the mandate of make it like Manchester United, like help us compete against this mammoth of a club. And he's done that over and over. So I think part of that mandate still remains, which is to put Man City amongst the top clubs in the world. Today, if you speak about Man City, it's compared with clubs like Real Madrid. It's crazy. Like, anyone who lived just 10 years ago would not have imagined that this would be so, but he has done that. So for me, his eyes are set on some of the very, very largest goals and records in football. Like, we are playing checkers and he is playing chess. He's thinking English football dominance. He's thinking legacy. So I think that's why he's continuing to stay, and it's likely that he will still stay for some more. I think the things which might be leading for him to question a lot of things is just some of the things surrounding the club and kind of things which are happening. So it's also quite crazy that that clause was put in there, because he's a man who
Yeah.
also believes in legacy. So that can also be very, very impacting. But I think if you're Man City, you'll be really excited. And we can talk about the impact also on rivals later. But I think if you're Man City, you'll be excited.
Someone said when Pep leaves, all the Man City fans will go back to their original clubs. I guess they,
Yes.
they get to stay on for another 2 seasons, which is quite fascinating. But according to him, because the speculation around his future started earlier this season. I think even sometime last season as well. And when the England managerial job was on the market, people speculated that he was the one the FA was going for. And then people started linking the likes of Amorim to replace him at City at the end of the season and all that, because they are bringing in the sporting director from Sporting as well to replace the City sporting director who is leaving at the end of the season. And you help but wonder, for instance, whether or not some of the things that have happened in recent time have made it much clearer for him to extend the contract. Because you are wondering why now, right? But people have also said, well, Pep had always extended his contract in November, so he'll be doing it in November. But I think there are two things that happened interestingly. And the first one is there are 4 in a row loss, which according to him brought some form of clarity to him to say, well, the project is not done. Here's a new challenge for me. Because now my team seems to be getting to that point where they cannot find the hunger, they cannot find the desire. They lose focus when they have to hang on tight. And it's like, we talk about the most difficult thing about the EPL or about any championship is to win it twice and win it because the hunger, it's like you've won it and the hunger vanishes. But the magic around Pep's team is that he's always found a way to motivate them to keep that hunger season in, season out, and challenge. And now he's facing a situation where it seems like he's not been able to do that up until this point in the season. So for him, he says, well, after they lost 4 in a row, it was clear to him that there's a new project on the line and it's not done and he can't leave because he needs to prove that it's possible to keep the hunger even after winning the title 4 times in a row, right? And so that's a new challenge for him. But also, I'm wondering whether it's because his touted successor has joined another street of Manchester that's in red. And so maybe for the club, it's much more important to keep him to get the time to find a new Pep successor at City.
Yeah, so there are so many moving parts to this conversation. I think,
Yeah,
first of all, let's start with Pep, right? And Pep's motivations. I think most of the time, when even for footballers and a lot of football people and pundits, when they discuss Pep, they still are not discussing him in terms of what he really is, right?
yeah,
Like they just say, oh, he's a genius, and they still think about him like any normal man. This is a man who is obsessed. It's clear. Players have come out to say
yeah,
it. Coaching staff, everyone. He's obsessed with football. He's a man who loves the game. He loves
yeah,
the competition. He loves the rivalry. He loves the you get it.
yeah,
So you need to consider all of those things if you are thinking about whether he wants to continue to stay or not. And just the brief description of that man in that light would allow for us to kick off like some of the things which are being said, right?
yeah,
I think number one, if you are Pep and you are very, very competitive, most likely you would want to leave this team in a good place. You would
yeah,
want to leave on a high, because it's a lot that has been done, and it's still likely. We saw the way Klopp left, and everyone just spoke about how it could have gone better, right? You would want to leave on a high, and I think that
yeah,
in that case, some of the recent performances can show him that, well, this team is not in a place where we can leave it that way. And I would have thought that a few months ago he would think otherwise. Why? Because they've
yeah,
helped develop the academy, and through the academy they have good replacements for the players that they had who understood the level of football. And Man City as a club will not struggle to they'll struggle to replace Pep, but they are still going to get some of the best coaches there are on the market. That being said, it's also important to note that the legal issues, it would also be something that he's thinking about. This is a club that
Yeah.
he has stood up and defended for long. And I think the club has an incentive for him to stay, to make them look strong in a public image. I don't think that City doubts that they can win the legal case in this instance. But what seems to me has been their Achilles heel in all of these interactions is the public perception which has come around the
Yeah.
level of success which they've built. And you think
Yeah.
they don't care about that, but all indications have shown that they do. From the press conferences that Pep Guardiola has offered, speaking about these things, he speaks about people coming for them and why they should come at them in the right way, amongst a number of things. These are huge accusations. The, these are things where you're saying that the league is coming for a club,
It's coming
right?
up for
And
you. Yeah.
yeah, that's the extent it has got to for you to want to break this dominance. So I think for me, from a PR perspective, it will be
Yeah.
devastating if Guardiola chooses to leave, especially
Yeah.
at this point in time. I think whether or not they did it, whether or not they go ahead to win, it would set a huge question around what did Guardiola know that
Yeah.
caused it. Maybe he didn't trust this, so and so and so, amongst
Yeah.
a number of things. But lastly, I think losing 4 games in a row, as much as it's still very, very huge, I think it's just something which happened. I don't think that by itself would have reversed the decision if he was
For
not
him,
going to.
it's history. It's
Yes,
his.
I
It's
know.
historical for Pep side to lose four times in a row,
Yeah, but
which in itself is
if
also
I did,
ridiculous.
I yeah, I understand. So if I was Pep and I lost 4 times in a row, that's not when I want to say I'll quit. But let's also not
Yeah.
forget that he had a contract which was running till the end of this year, to the end of this
Next
season,
thing.
which still means that he would still feel that he has a chance to come back, and he himself has said it that the league is not over. Like they always start
Yeah.
this way. Maybe it's time for someone to win. Like I don't know, crazy number of things. But I think for me, it just shows that he was always going to stay, and he's using this moment to spare himself, to motivate himself. And I think he's really using, because Pep Guardiola doesn't come out to make some of these statements, but when he
Yeah.
does, you can see that he's using the media to also motivate his players, saying that
Yeah.
people, and these are things that we know Mourinho for, and we used to say that Pep Guardiola was not like that, but we can see now he does. It's not attacking his players, it's not throwing his players under the bus. It's just saying, look, things are going wrong, the schedule is tight, this, but we'll come back. And you can see that he wants to use it to motivate his players. So for me, if you look at the kind of man that Pep was, it's always quite clear that he was going to try and continue. And looking at all of the circumstances around the club, he definitely feel like this is not the correct time to leave.
But if you are any other manager in the Premier League, is this the worst news to hear within the
Oh
week?
yes, oh yes. I mean, to be fair, if you're a competitor, if you're a Premier League manager, you probably would
Yeah.
still be excited, because one of the things, I don't know about you, but I'll share a story in debate. One of the things I was always hoping for was that the legends don't retire,
The best.
because I
Yeah.
wanted to beat them in their prime. And
Yeah.
I was always glad that I did. I was always glad I had that hunger and desire. And we've spoken before about how people want people to retire, leave the space so that they can also
Yeah.
dominate.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. If you're a competitor, you don't want that. You don't want that.
Yeah.
And I get that for club managers and things, it's very easy for them. If Pep had retired, I'm telling you that a lot of clubs would have accelerated their plans. And I think a lot of plans by a lot of the top 4 clubs was hinged on whether Pep would resign or not. Like, of
Yeah.
course, they still need to build up and continue, but there's a level at which you accelerate and say, well,
Yeah.
the seat is vacant. Who will get to it? Like,
We'll
and
get
if we
it.
get to it, we would be the
Yeah.
ones to sit on there for a long time, because there's
Yeah.
no clear challenger. And I think the one some of the clubs that I know have that feeling are Chelsea, Arsenal, and
Yeah.
Liverpool.
Yeah.
They are the clubs who hold that feeling that, look, we can't allow what City did to happen again. They were slowly they were slowly building something, and we saw
Yeah,
it. We were just looking at it, fuffling around, doing some things, and then when they
yeah,
came, they just never left. We thought City would win a trophy or two, and the next year
yeah,
somebody will. But it just turns out that it was straight up dominance. The clubs can't tolerate that again, so they'll definitely be planning in the long term. And as Guardiola,
yeah,
as we, they will feel that anxiety, and they will know that they need to continue to work harder, because it will not be easy to dethrone such a man. But then, as a coach or as a head coach or as a rival, you feel like this is the time you also want to do it, right? And we all
yeah,
hail Klopp, not because he won a lot more trophies, but because he was able to win within the Guardiola era. Like, that in itself has become like
yeah,
a title. Yeah, winning
yeah.
within the Guardiola era. So
Sure.
yes, I want Chelsea to win, but if it is after the reign of Man City, it's still going to feel some way. But
Yeah,
another reason why you'd also want to see Guardiola stay is just how much he pushes the tactical news of the league and of the world. Like,
yeah,
yeah, when Guardiola left the scene, I don't remember the world being excited about tactics the way it has been in the
yeah,
last couple of years. And that trickles down to other managers. Like, we are like, who is the next Guardiola? Who is bringing these new inventive things?
yeah,
And football all of a sudden opened up his mind to people being very, very creative and bringing new ideas onto the pitch. A couple of
yeah.
years ago, a coach like Hessler, the Brighton coach, would never have been coaching
We
within the
wouldn't.
Premier, because
Yeah,
your ideas will be seen as crazy, won't work, get out of here. But for him, for Guardiola to come with some of those quote unquote woke ideas, come into the league and people say, can he do it on a rainy night in Stoke and do
yeah,
it? Giving people a different belief about what tactics mean, and how
yeah.
much like it can also do. So I think that that's something that they'll also be remiss
Yeah, that's definitely true because I was watching back to the very first interview Gary Neville had with I think Pep Guardiola on Match of the Day, and the question they were asking was, can he do it by playing nice football?
in.
Because the EPL had a reputation for being like a very aggressive physical league, and you can't do it by playing the nice Spanish football or the slow German football and get away with it. He said, yeah, you thought I was coming to your table. No, you were coming to my table. You need to play by my rules. And he played and won the league by playing those nice passages of play football. And now, if you're a dominant league and you are playing counter attack and defensive, if you're what do you call it, a top team, and you are playing counter attack and defensive football, nobody respects your style of play because everybody thinks, bro, you are not playing, you are not dominating the ball, you are not holding possession, you are not, we are not seeing triangles and patterns and genius tactical evolutions at play. And that's why it's true. The likes of Arteta, Enzo Maresca, and these new coaches who are now much more intense about tactical positionings are getting a lot more focus and appreciation within the job. So he's really changed English football, and I think whether he leaves now, 2 years later, extends to 10 years more, he's always going to be the one who redefined the image of the for the EPL.
Yeah,
It's
I
quite
just wanted to
interesting to
add.
see.
Yeah, I just wanted
Yeah,
to add one thing. There was a notion within English football that there needed to be sort of like a balance between um, sort of like how well you play versus if you want to win, and like and also how quickly, if you come in, if you want to play nice football, it takes time. And
yeah,
within the Premier League, things are very, very competitive. You will not have time, so you get thrown into doing things in the short term. And you know, he pushed that thing very, very far away. A lot of the
Ten Hag
time,
brought,
yes, a lot of the impatience, is it Ten Hag? A lot of the
Ten
impatience
Hag,
that we've a lot of the impatience that we've seen with coaches
yeah,
stems from Guardiola coming in and from day one saying, I want to play my football. No one had usually does that. Even Antonio Conte, when he came into the league, was like, okay, let's play your football. Then after a couple
yeah,
of games, was like, okay, let's play mine because we have nothing to lose because this really not working. Previously, that's what
yeah,
coaches did, introduce their style over time. These days, coaches coming from day one, they want you to play this way. They sack the players
exactly.
that like, and people have come to believe that a coach who will get you results, and can still do so whilst playing nicely. And this is at the ethos of football. This is football meta. Like, if you get what I
Yeah,
mean, like
yeah,
having the ability to break conventional beliefs. It
yeah,
it exposes like a range of capabilities so much
yeah.
that, like, it's just rare. It's just rare, and that for me is the level of greatness that's like, he's trusting on the Premier League.
Interesting. For me, I'm excited to see though because there's a new manager at the other side of Manchester, and at least he need to face the Guardiola test for us to see whether or not he's up to it. Um, Someone came to end errors and had his career ended. I'm not sure what Amorim is going to do. So
No, I
let's
did
see.
you listen to his interview? Amorim's interview was really good.
Yeah, I've been following him. That's the thing. He's a media darling boy. The media is obviously having a field day with him. I'm just waiting to see how he plays. I'm waiting to see how the media would react when results don't go well, because the praises they heaped upon Eric Ten Hag when he was coming, even though he wasn't the perfect communicator, they still praised him for his style of football, predicted all sorts of magic. And when he said errors come to an end, I'm sure it was the most printed set of words that week. But Charlie, it didn't go well. So I mean, he's doing well in terms of his media management. It's just really, let's see what he has up his sleeve when it comes to the
Yeah, I
pitch.
would just say that, like, when Ten Hag had the wrong message, like, Ten Hag in hindsight had the wrong message. You look at people like Enzo Maresca, and when he came here, he had the right message. He said, "Look, we are here to make this club an important club. We are here to get it back to where it needs to be." And part of that is by being ready now. I need people who are ready now to put in the work and do the work. But
Yeah.
before that, when Pochettino came, he said, "Guys, guys, guys, we've gone through a lot of
Yeah,
things. We are coming. We
yeah.
need to rebuild. Our young people, take time, be
Poch and Ten Hag
patient."
have the same messaging.
Yes, and he was still like it was mixed signals. He was still like, "Look, we can win, we can win, we can win, we can win." It's like the meme. The guy was like, "Take your time, please hold on." It's like, "Look, we can win, but time." You see, there's a way to ask for time, and it's by winning games. And this is what Ruben
Yeah,
Amorim said. He said he knows he doesn't have time, and that, but the only way he can get time is by winning games and by playing well. And
yeah,
that's the messaging that Ten Hag didn't have. Ten Hag came, and to him, he was like, "This is Manchester United. We can go for it. We are on top of the world. Errors will come to an end." Meanwhile, you didn't have your players. Meanwhile, you were going to buy Anthony. Then later on, you were now like, "Patience. We have a lot of injuries. Some of these guys are young." People will be like, "Hey." So you need to be very, very honest about the situation. Like, Maresca was like, "You think this is a Champions League team? Why are we playing in the Conference League?" Like, reality
yeah,
check, like radical honesty and reality check, and saying that, "Look, that what we want to do is not 6 months, it's 5 years, 6 years." So that's the process we need to go through. It's a process to get to that end. And he started winning, and people are seeing that. So for me, I think Amorim needs to start winning. But he has the right message, like, of saying that, "Look,
yeah,
I know you don't have time, but I've also got in charge. I also came in charge of this club at a crucial time, at a time when people think everything won't work, at a time when everyone has lost hope. Maybe that also would give him some cushion."
yeah. That's true. I mean, he also has the best winger in the world, Anthony. So, Charlie, let's see how things go.
I heard he'll be converted to a wing back.
Charlie, even if he goes and plays outside of the pitch, he will still be less useful. So, there's nothing to say about Anthony. But anyway, it will be exciting to see how the Manchester derbies go. I mean, there's one in December, so let's look forward to it as well. But then you had some thoughts on Mbappe. I've not been following his story really in terms of, because I know there are some issues flying around PSG and some money issues, but he's also having his issues in Real Madrid. So let's know what's your take? What's the story you want us to carry with us around Kylian Mbappe, and what do you want us to hear from you?
No, I think like the Kylian Mbappe story is one that we had before coming in, and most of
Yeah,
the problems we are seeing now were things that we documented. way
Yeah.
before his move. But I think there are questions as to if this signing in itself was the right thing to do. And it's funny because before he came there, everyone just thought this is the perfect move. This is all what was needed for his career,
Yeah.
or what like Real Madrid also needed to get back on top. But now people are thinking, has he miscalculated, things like that, leading to
Yeah.
people even questioning Carlo Ancelotti. But I think this is a big question also for the way in which we see football right now, because
Yeah.
football obviously has we've seen great footballers who like carry their clubs or literally become the franchise of their clubs, like Cristiano Ronaldo at Real Madrid, Messi at Barcelona. People who are just
Yeah.
expected to perform at the top level and carry that club. And I
Yeah.
think Mbappe got to the point where people are questioning if he has that thing in him. Like
Yeah.
the memory of Mbappe and the kind of things he's done, people are just saying, well, is he just like a World Cup player? Is he like a Hernan Crespo, like someone who just come and pass through? And I think it's truly like the demise of some of a player that's like had so much potential and
Yeah.
we had so much hopes for. I think the second question is also around just how players are packaged these days. Because let's be honest, Mbappe has got his hands in a lot of things. Like Mbappe is run like a business, right?
Yeah.
And looking at the way he broke away from PSG in the first place, you remember I was telling you in the previous podcast that him leaving
Yeah.
had huge implications on um, PSG and the French league as a whole in terms
Yeah.
of how much revenue they are going to continue to bring within the league. And
Yeah.
also, like, people love you if you seem to love your country more. You see, like, people want to hear stories like he played in France all his life, and within France, he became the greatest player. Like, Mbappe had potential to be the best player in the world while still in France. And people see that to be more of an achievement rather than going to a place where the Ballon d'Or will be handed over to you. In their minds, if you need an institution to do that, then it's not a testament of your ability. But we've now seen Kylian Mbappe, whose popularity has dipped so much in France. And I think it has translated to some of the issues which he's facing within the national team. First, the armband discussions which they had, and him potentially also now saying that he should not be called up because of some of these um, his performances at Real Madrid, that he wants to focus on his performance at Real Madrid, amongst a number of things. It's not quite clear what's happening within the national team, but a lot of
Yeah.
people are in support of them stripping the captain band off his hand. And it seems to be something that the coach has started caving into. So this is now a man who was at the highest peak and decided to go for a further shot at the top in order to achieve his dreams, only to find everything tumbling down. And there are questions over if um, for example, they are all connected. Like there are questions as to if it's all connected. So, for example, is some of the pressure that he's facing here, is it what is impacting the way in which he's able to perform within the shirts? Because there was the expectation that Kylian Mbappe comes in and immediately clicks with the squad and goes, and no one is willing to give him that time, etc.
Yeah.
But uh, Mbappe, like you also know, is a brand, like I was saying, and he deals with a lot of things off the pitch. Like, so commercially, his partnerships with brands, amongst a number of things, are things which he's involved in, and people are beginning to also question if that has an impact on his performance on the pitch. Because as much as Ronaldo and Messi were PR gurus at the peak of their time, you will not see them out there doing all those stuff. That they were always training, they were always into football and just purely focused on football. And people feel like Mbappe doesn't have that same specific focus. So moving forward, it's all hope lost for Mbappe. I don't think so. I think we seem to forget that this is his first season. He's only played a handful of games, about 16 games or so. And it's not like he has not scored. He still scored, but the manner in which we've seen it, like he has to go through penalties, and there are times where he's just been awful, right, to the point at
Yeah.
which people were booing him on the pitch. So, and we seem to forget that when Cristiano Ronaldo also joined Real Madrid, it was something similar. But I think people remember less of Cristiano Ronaldo and remember more of Eden Hazard, who came and then
Yeah.
was also out of the team in the same way. So for every good example, there's a bad example. But I
Yeah.
think it's also important to see that even though Ronaldo faced these things, he was able to overcome it and become one of Real Madrid's most important players. And Kylian Mbappe still has the capacity to be able to do so. If all of the things we are saying is true, then he has capacity to focus more on the pitch to be able to perform in the manner in which he would. And I think if he's able to go back to France and, for example, lead them to a World Cup success in 2026 again, people are going to
Yeah.
forgive him and he'll be able to turn it around. But it begs the question also around the kind of project that Real Madrid is putting up, whether it is sustainable in the long run, because it looks like they've put themselves in a corner where this needs to work. This needs to absolutely work. So hopefully we are going to see, and it's not for the first time, but it will be one of the few instances where the club may need to adjust internally in order to make such a move as this work, in order to help the players on the pitch. So, for example, there are talks of Xabi Alonso signing next year after Ancelotti's contract expires. For example, his 3-4-3 formation, where
Yeah.
strikers need to play more a bit in the pockets. Would that see players like Rodrigo, Vinicius Junior, Kylian Mbappe playing off like someone like Jude Bellingham or an actual target? And is that going to improve the kind of outcomes which they have? Whatever it is, he's been signed for a shitload of money and he's been given like an enormous responsibility, and he definitely has to deliver.
Yeah, I mean it's quite interesting because usually when these things are happening, people look on the flowery side and always want to be fixated on it. And I think we had a discussion here to look at how challenging it would be for Carlo Ancelotti to find that tactical balance to create a machine out of this Madrid team. Because on paper, they are probably a monstrous team, but on
Yeah.
the field, we all know the challenges. You are basically playing three left wingers or three traditional left wingers. Rodrigo likes to be on the left, Vinicius on the left, Mbappe on the left. Rodrigo is far better on the right, but he's been injured recently, and so Mbappe tends to be moved over to the right or centrally. Rodrigo is even better centrally as well, and so it's a little bit difficult for me. I'm thinking, would it be better for Ancelotti to play Vinicius, Bobby, this guy, what did they call
Henry.
him? Endrick, yes, Vinicius, Endrick, and Rodrigo. And then be alternating between Vinicius and Mbappe. But that's the thing, maybe game time, whatever it is. But I have a feeling that resting players and giving them the stage when they can most shine is better than platforming them when they can't, because that ruins their morale as well to get back to the best. So again, it's a tactical puzzle Ancelotti has to resolve. And with all we say, Madrid is falling down. They're I think 6 points behind Barca with a game in hand on the league table. So technically, if they are winning that game in hand, they are 3 points behind Barca. That's Barca's best start in the season for God knows how long, and Madrid's possible worst iteration of the league. So that also tells you the team we are talking about. They're a significantly strong team that can always bounce back without you expecting them to. And so I think they would figure it out. And that's the thing that helps Madrid. They try and find a way to get results, even in the messy situations. So they buys themselves time to figure things out. And hopefully they get there as soon as possible. So, yeah. Um, this has been a really nice conversation. As usual, just going through the most important stories within the week. Let us know your thoughts. Let us know your comments. Leave a like, subscribe, and share with your friends and your loved ones. It's a really interesting podcast that you get weekly updates from the topmost news in the world of football, and you get Erasmus sharing his analysis always with a pinch of Chelsea bias. So yeah, thanks everyone, and definitely see you on the next episode. Bye, guys.